Wonder Woman is a 2017 superhero film based on a screenplay by Ellen Heinberg and a story by Heinberg, Zack Snyder, and Jason Fuchs. The film is directed by the groundbreaking Patty Jenkins. Patty is not only the only female director to direct a superhero film, but also the only female director to direct a film with a budget over $150 million. The film stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Danny Huston, and David Thewlis. Based on DC Comics, Wonder Woman tells the story of Diana Prince, the warrior princess of the Amazons who live on the hidden island of the Themyscira. Diana's world collides with man's when she rescues US pilot Captain Steve Trevor when his plane crashes into the sea off the coast of the Themyscira. After a bloody battle with the German soldiers that had been following Trevor, Diana learns of a great war that is consuming the outside world and leaves home convinced she can end the war. Fighting alongside man in a war to end all wars, Diana discovers her full powers and her true destiny. The film is undergirded by themes of war and the innate darkness in mankind, together with ideas of inspiration, hope, and empowerment. It also deals with the social issue of women's rights and empowerment, with the film starring a female heroine that is fully powerful and strong, without negating her femininity and compassion. In fact, it even highlights that those traits are what make her strong.
They do not deserve your protection!
It's not about deserve. It's about what you believe. And I believe in love.
Throughout this film analysis, we'll be looking at aspects of Wonder Woman's mise-en-scène and cinematography. The first aspect of mise-en-scène we'll be talking about is the use of colour in the film. Unlike most of DC's films, which have a dull, muted look, Wonder Woman's colour palette is much wider and colour is more deliberately used than in any other films of the DCU, so let's jump right in. Firstly, different colour palettes are allocated to different locations to reveal the nature of the vastly different worlds in the film. The world of the Amazons, the Themyscira, and the world of men. At the start of the film, in the beautiful island of the Themyscira, where we follow Diana through childhood, the colours are very saturated with the deep cyans of the sea and sky, lush greens, and warm golds. The colour palette is very warm, inviting, and lively, which reflects the paradisical nature of this hidden island that is untouched by the rest of the world. In contrast, the world of man, which is set in Britain in the era of World War I, is bleak and blue. There is a heavier emphasis on cyan and a lot of overcast light. The shadows are blue, the highlights are blue, everything is dull and desolate, and as Diana said,
It's hideous.
the colour palette is much more limited than that of the Themyscira. This reflects the toxicity of the world man has created and adds to the heavy and depressing atmosphere brought about by the realities of war, which enhances that theme in the film. This change in colour palette not only highlights the difference in worlds, but also the development of Diana's character as she becomes Wonder Woman. We only see Diana and the landscape lit in a pure white natural-looking light early in the film when she is still an innocent child. As the film's plot becomes more violent and as Diana is introduced to the real world outside of her sheltered home, the cyan and orange colour palette begins to take over. You may recognize this popular colour palette from many, many, many other superhero films in the past. And so, as Diana's powers start to emerge, so does her superhero colour palette. This is seen especially in the No Man's Land scene. This is a pivotal scene in the film where Diana makes her superhero debut as Wonder Woman. And as you can see in the bleak blue battle wasteland, the warmth of her skin tone and red of her costume stand out and shine. She becomes a literal beacon in a barren wasteland as she becomes a figurative beacon of hope in a war-torn world full of hate. This visual representation is further enhanced later by the bright warm light of her lasso of truth, which cuts through the darkness. And all that enhances the themes of hope and inspiration that Wonder Woman is all about. And so colour is used here as an effective narrative tool that brings more dimension to the themes and motifs of the story. And now onto the cinematography. This film heavily utilizes the effect of slow motion to convey emotional meanings in the midst of action sequences. An example would be in the scene where the Germans stumble into the Themyscira and Diana is first introduced to the violence and destruction that humans are capable of. We see Diana watch one of her fellow Amazonians get killed by a bullet from a soldier's gun. The use of slow motion in this scene is effective for two reasons. Firstly, Had this scene been played out in real time, the audience might have gotten lost in the quick action sequences in the rest of the scene and be confused as to what to focus on. Secondly, it allows the audience to see the scene from Diana's point of view, and reveals her inner emotional state. As she follows the bullet from the barrel of the gun to its target, she is curious at first. She did not know what a bullet was, and that quickly turns into shock when she realizes that bullets can kill, and Diana realizes she is not invincible and the outside world is dangerous. It's all about trying to tell stories within the action. Slow motion is also used in a number of Diana's fight sequences to highlight her grace and athleticism. We see her swift kicks, powerful punches, and dramatic deflection of bullets. The slow motion draws greater attention to that and is a fantastic way to portray her power and grace. Another interesting thing to note about the cinematography is the use of sideways shots in the film. An example would be in Steve Trevor's flashback scene where he has just stolen Dr. Maru's notebook and is now escaping in a German plane. In that scene, as Steve flies away from the camp, he drops a bomb into the warehouse, and the filmmakers emphasize this moment by including a sideways shot as the explosion rocks from left to right across the screen rather than up and down. This gives the scene great momentum as things flowing from left to right are perceived as more energetic and more action-oriented, as that's the way we are used to reading. All in all, Wonder Woman is a superhero origin story with unusual gravity for a comic book adaptation. It reflects hope in a war-embroiled society not very much unlike our own, except where love triumphs over judgment. Need I say more? I've only just scratched the surface of the intricate interwoven themes and tools used, and I highly recommend you go watch this brilliant film.